Do you want to engage in international business with foreign clients and sound really professional? Or have conversations with foreign friends and go beyond superficial topics? Or perhaps you're even looking for a job overseas and you want to enter the international job market. If any of this is the case, being able to have in-depth conversations on economic, political, and social issues in English is a must. People will view you differently and even take you more seriously if they see that you're well-informed, know what's happening in the world, and can even make predictions and analysis about world events, especially from a different cultural perspective. In this video, I'm going to be sharing 4 tips to help you engage in discussions on global news and events and sound more professional and informed. One way to sound more professional in English conversations is making a connection to a recent news event. So let's say you're meeting with a foreign client and the ball is in your court to start a conversation with them. Rather than just jumping into the main issue of the business meeting, try to build rapport with the client by engaging in intelligent small talk. And something more than just, have you ever tried Taiwanese food? To do so, it's helpful to stay informed on recent news, buzzwords, trends, and names of government and corporate projects in your industry. This will provide you with a nice repertoire of topics to refer to regardless of who you're talking with. You could start out by saying, how has your company or you guys been affected by the recent something policy? Or you could say, so I've heard recently in the US the government is providing funding for companies doing XYZ. How are people in your industry responding to that? This does 2 things. It shows that you know what's going on in the US government and business world, and you're creating a connection to the client's company, which acts as an important conversation starter. Another tip for sounding more professional in English conversations is directly dealing with your own ignorance. Firstly, you might not be aware or fully understand the topic of conversation of the situation you're entering. And that's perfectly normal and okay, particularly if it's something specific to the US or the UK that you might not be familiar with. Either way, the best way to deal with a situation that you don't know much about the topic is to partially admit your own ignorance, but create a reference to something that you do know about that maybe they do not. For example, you could say, I actually haven't heard about that, but it kind of reminds me of the XYZ in recent years that we've had in Taiwan. This does 2 things. It brings a new subtopic into the conversation, which is one that you know about, and it also creates an opportunity for you to be in your element and inform the other person about something new to them. Another highly useful tip to sound more professional and informed when having advanced level English conversations is making a historical reference. Now, this one will require you to know your stuff a bit more, but referring to something that has happened in the past, which is related to the topic of discussion, provides a great response and allows the conversation to take a new turn. For example, let's say you're in a conversation with business people talking about inflation in the US. You could say something like, I actually heard some people saying that the levels of inflation we're seeing recently are almost as bad as they were in the 1970s. Inflation in the 1970s is something that many Americans are very familiar with, and by referring to it, it creates a sense of familiarity and expertise on your part. Another essential tip I have for sounding more professional and informed in English conversations is using specialized terms and buzzwords. Now, I totally get that many of you as non-native speakers may not be able to put together grammatically correct sentences on the fly. What's actually more important than that is your use of specific and advanced vocabulary. More precisely, specialized terms and buzzwords. Articulate grammar is wonderful, but your use of vocabulary is what steers the topic of the conversation. Business people in particular like to get to the 重点, or the main point, so using keywords is most important. Let's say, for example, the topic is trends in business and technology. You could say something like, there's been so much disruptive innovation in the West since the pandemic, but it seems that so many tech companies in Japan still suffer from stagnation since they don't have a clear digital strategy. In another situation, let's say the conversation's on US politics. You could use a buzzword common in US politics and also introduce something that's popular in Taiwanese politics. You could say, it's interesting to see that culture wars have become the dominant issue in recent US elections, whereas in Taiwan, all issues center on cross-strait relations. Overall, starting a conversation on an advanced topic in another language is extremely challenging and intimidating. Trust me, I've been there plenty of times. But the best tip of all that I have you is to get yourself out there and participate in as many conversations on different topics as possible to give you a well-rounded knowledge base on topics from business, politics, economics, and society to make you sound more informed and more confident when you speak in English. I'm going to be making more videos like this, so if you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.